Right, so welcome to a little further in the yard, and I lied slightly in that most of the buildings around here are freshman dorms, but there are a couple exceptions to that. So one exception right behind us here is Massachusetts Hall and Mass Hall, and this is actually one of the oldest buildings of the university to still be in active use. It was built in the 1720s, and whereas as I pointed out at the beginning of the tour, General George Washington stayed in Wadsworth House, his troops were stationed in buildings like Mass Hall here. So yeah, a little known fact, during the beginning of the American Revolution, a lot of the Continental regulars were mustered right here at Harvard. So that happened, George Washington took the first swearing in as Commander-in-Chief right in Cambridge Commons, right across the way there. So Continental regulars right there. And today it serves two functions. One is on the first and second floors. Those are the offices of the president of the whole university, Drew Faust, who, as I mentioned, is a woman, very good. And above her on the third and fourth floors are 14 lucky or unlucky freshmen, however you look at it. There are freshman dorms up there. And it is nice. They get to have dinner a couple times a semester with the president, but no parties. Can't break the rules. Right next to Mass Hall, I guess where we just came from, is Harvard Hall. And yeah, that's a classroom building. There are sort of medium-sized lecture halls there. I've had a history class, economics classes, things like that. But that's actually the third building to stand there to be called Harvard Hall. The first one was one of the first buildings of the university, and it was built so well, it just kind of fell down after, I think, bad bricks, I guess, bad architecture. But the second Harvard Hall had a far more tragic ending, in my opinion. And in those days, Harvard Hall housed the private library collection of John Harvard, and because the books were so old and fragile, they had a strict policy. They were very serious about this, that you could not take books outside of the library. So as the story goes, there was a student here early in the university's history in the mid-1700s who could have been more proactive in his studying. He had an exam the next morning, and he really needed this book to study for it. The book was called The Devil and All His Temptations. He figured that, there's this rule, rules are meant to be broken, and, if I go in the library, slip the book under my coat, study it overnight, and then bring it back in the morning, no one will be the wiser, this will be fine. So he does this, and when he came back in the morning, to his dismay, he discovered someone had accidentally tipped over a candle in the middle of the night, and Harvard Hall, with all the old important artifacts and books in it, had burned to the ground. And as he encountered this pile of ash and rubble, he also encountered the president of the university at the time, President Polio, weeping and lamenting over the loss of such an important piece of our history. So the student thought, well, I could just go on my way and my day would be fine. Or, being the ambitious Harvard student he is, he thought, maybe I could show the president I've got the last book of John Harvard, get a little reward out of this. So of course he does this. He says, Mr. President, look, I've got the last piece of John Harvard's library collection. What do you think about that? And the president goes, son, thank you so much. You've preserved such a vital and integral piece of our history. Now please pack your things, you're expelled. And that just goes to show that we care about law and order here at Harvard. Don't break the rules. Living above the president, can't break the rules.